Hello everyone. So today we have Alex Alonso with us, right? Hello Alex.
Hello,
Welcome. Alex is the head of knowledge and certifications for SHRM, right? We're going to talk about what is it that SHRM offers to the organization and to the HR professional, right? Let's start with that, Alex. So what's your views?
So that's an excellent place to begin, because the very mission of SHRM is to advance the profession, and more importantly, to serve the professional. And so one of the things that we really view ourselves as is the career partner for the HR profession. And what that means is that we have to offer career development resources, we have to offer professional development resources. And there's a variety of different offerings that we've put out in market the last year and are coming to bring to the market in the coming year that will advance that very mission. Perfect example of that is we offer an e-learning library, the SHRM e-learning library, which offers more than 1,200 different opportunities of content to earn some form of learning or achieve some form of learning objective, and it includes micro-learning elements, which is a wonderful subscription service that we offer to serve the professional. Another example of that is we are also launching our career portal, or what we view as our career development resource site for HR professionals. And so in the coming months, in September, we'll actually have a tool available to everyone where they will be able to assess their own competencies and determine what it is that they should focus on in terms of their professional development. And it's a unique little tool that will be linked to their membership, linked to everything that they do as a professional, and give them guidance and insights into the resources they should be using to develop.
Sure. That's interesting. So where is all of this coming from, Alex? So is there some sort of a base that SHRM has built for understanding what is it that the HR professional needs to succeed in organizations?
And it's absolutely a base that we've actually worked on. It's an evidence base that we've built over the last going on 25 years, but in the last 10 years in particular, we've actually engaged in a body of research that really focuses on defining what great HR looks like. And as we know, great HR leads to great organizations. But more importantly, what we've done is we've conducted global research with more than 45,000 HR professionals across the globe. CXOs all over the world. We've dealt with professionals from more than 115 countries and worked with them to define what it means to be great at HR. And do so in a way that we're defining not just what great HR looks like, but also that we're defining what the competencies needed to be successful and be great at HR really are. So that's research that we've engaged in over the last 10 years.
So and then the certifications are something that's based on those competencies. Could you elaborate on that a bit?
Without question. So the latest iteration of what we've done to serve the profession is and to advance the profession is launch the SHRM Certified Professional, or SHRM CP, and the SHRM SCP, which have been in the market since 2015. And those were based upon what we call the SHRM BOK, or the SHRM Body of Competency and Knowledge. And the basic premise behind this is that this is an iteration of the SHRM competency model that is used to define what we can certify HR professionals on. So when we want to assess whether or not someone has the real world knowledge to address core problems and address common scenarios that they'll run into in the HR profession, this is what we use to certify those professionals and certify that they know how to handle tough situations.
That's interesting. So is it a very rigorous assessment that happens of anybody who wants to become a CP or an SCP?
It's extremely rigorous. In fact, it's an assessment that consists of 160 different questions, and there's two types of questions. Some of them which are very much geared towards your basic knowledge, but there are some that are really geared towards your situational judgment. And so to give you a context, one of the things that we always strive to assess is how someone would react to a given situation. We've seen this scenario time and time again, for example, with leadership and initiative. In many cases, we see the scenario, and I'm sure you've had a similar experience. We've all experienced this. Someone comes into the workplace, and they come into the workplace on the first day, and that you give them an assignment, and they sit there and they don't really know what to do, so they're not inquisitive, they don't bother to learn, they don't bother to identify what the appropriate response to the task at hand is.
Sure.
That's an individual who's not proficient and doesn't necessarily show the initiative that you need to navigate through the organization.
Right.
Now, take, for example, their cousin
Sure.
comes in and you hire them 3 weeks after you fired the first one.
All right.
And what happens is you bring them in
Sure.
and you give them the same task. And what do?
Sure.
They figure out the task within 20 minutes.
Sure.
They know how to navigate their way through the organization, and they
Sure.
understand how to go about achieving more than what you've given them and taking on new tasks.
Right.
That's the kind of initiative you look for from a future leader. That's one example
Sure.
of more than 480 different types of behaviors that we expect someone who's proficient to demonstrate.
That's interesting.
And so when we assess individuals, we're assessing them to assess whether or not they are demonstrating those types of proficiencies.
Sure. So the whole assessment process is not just rigorous and deep, but it's also very broad-based.
Very broad-based. As one of my good colleagues,
sure.
the chairperson of our certification commission
sure.
says, Dr. Wayne Cassio, he likes to say, this is not an HR competency model.
Right.
It's really an HR leadership model.
Right.
Because the basic principle here is to go very broad and understand
sure.
what it means to be an HR leader and how HR leadership combines or overlaps with business leadership.
That's interesting.
And that's really what the assessment is designed to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, Alex, give us an overview of all the professional development programs that SHRM has to offer.
So currently we have an ecosystem of close to 2,000 different organizations, including SHRM, that we work with across the globe with
sure.
more than 41,000 different ways
sure.
to earn some sort of professional development, learning, some continuing education, or perhaps some professional development credit if you are certified.
Sure.
So when you think about that, that's more than 100 per country, 10 per country.
Right.
That's more than 40,000 different pieces of learning that one can engage in.
Right.
And it represents an example of the broad base of knowledge that we've created.
Right.
In old days and in previous years, when someone was focused on professional development through SHRM or through whomever, what you focused on was really a limited core piece of what somebody needed to do to be successful as an HR professional.
Sure.
We focused on knowledge. We focused on the components that really were not global in any way, but rather more focused on what those areas of knowledge were for being compliant.
Right.
And as we know, and what we've learned from our conference here, the HR Tech Conference, we've learned that HR is so much more than that.
Sure.
HR is expanding more broadly. It's taking on whole new roles. It's not just HR anymore. It's about the employee experience. It's about the customer experience, the consumer experience.
Sure.
And everything that we're trying to accomplish is to build a broad base of knowledge to support and competency to support that basic development, to ensure that we are keeping up with the evolution of the profession.
Interesting, interesting. So for the HR professional to succeed, what are some of the new and emerging competencies that they have to demonstrate at the workplace?
So some of the new and emerging competencies, one of the things that we see is that there are really 3 clusters of competencies.
Sure.
The first is leadership and how well you navigate difficult situations.
Right.
Other ones tend to deal more with relationship management and the relationship building that goes on in every kind of capacity you can imagine.
Right.
And then the third piece is ones that deal specifically with your business competencies or your business acumen. And for years we've talked about business acumen, but what we really mean here is your analytical thinking. How are you applying a variety of new methodologies to better understand the behavior of your organization? For instance, we've heard Josh Burson talk about organizational network analysis and whether or not it's part of the SHRM competency model. And it very much is. It's part of our critical evaluation competency because the entire emphasis of what we're trying to do is assess whether or not and train HR professionals to assess how the organization behaves, what it is that makes the organization truly successful and distinct. One of the other things that we've actually kind of pulled from that is an understanding of what talent analytics really are and what their applicability is given a different size of organization, given a different type of industry and those types of things. One other competency that I always espouse, and it's not necessarily called out as heavily in the SHRM competency model, but it's one that I always ask for, is specifically the ability to remain inquisitive. I'll give you an example. We heard Josh Burson this morning talk about this. We've also heard other individuals talk about this. Ravi Shankar, for example, talk about what they look for is someone who is curious.
Right.
In other words, the question why. Why is it that we do things the way we do?
True.
And more importantly, is there a better way to do those things?
Sure.
That's a competency that you have to build upon and is one that is core and key to everything that we are doing in HR.
Right.
And so when I think about the core competencies that are coming in the future,
sure.
those are the ones that I look for.
That's interesting.
What is that inquisitiveness? What is that curiosity that someone brings?
That's interesting. You know, the way business is evolving and the changes that are taking place, right? How important do you feel is the need for continued professional education, particularly for the HR professional today?
So that's an excellent question and something I speak about often. In fact,
right.
I'll share with you a personal anecdote where
sure.
One of the things that people ask me most often when
right.
I'm on the road is, what is the future of HR and how do I navigate it?
Right.
And to me, the basic principle behind navigating it well
sure.
is having a clear roadmap.
True.
And to me, a roadmap starts with the competencies needed to be successful,
right.
but then gives me a mechanism to ensure that I'm continuing to develop in those competencies,
sure.
and then the competencies that are coming in the future.
Right.
So for instance, when you work with SHRM and you work with credentialing and you work with competency-based certifications like the SHRM CP and the SHRM SCP,
right.
what you get with that is not just a commitment that you're going to have resources to help you develop
right.
over the course of time.
Sure.
What you get with that is a commitment that you will see continued growth
right.
from and continued learning from a professional.
Sure.
You get a commitment from SHRM
right.
that we will continue to evolve
sure.
with the competencies and with the profession,
sure.
so that we are constantly relevant and
sure.
ensuring that what you do in your professional development is relevant.
Right.
And then the other piece that I think is really critical
sure.
is understanding how important credentials are
right.
to ensuring your professional development, but more importantly, employer outcomes.
Right.
Because everyone thinks about the employee first, and
sure.
we all should, and the credential holder.
Sure.
But beyond that, we need to think about the employers and what it means for them to support this type of development.
Sure.
Number one, you're assured that you're getting relevant and timely information and timely development.
Sure.
Number two, you're getting the best-in-class resources.
Sure.
And number three, you're assured of important outcomes. Number
right.
one, what do you see?
Right.
You see a lot of engagement from professionals who engage in credentialing.
Sure.
You see organizational commitment, which is a term of the past, but it's
right.
something that is still relevant
right.
when you're talking about top talent.
Right.
And then you see higher retention rates
right.
and greater leadership potential.
Right.
We're always on the hunt for that next high potential talent, right?
Absolutely.
We're always on the hunt for the person who's going to be our successor.
True.
Or the person who can fill our role should we not
right.
be available.
Right.
And to me, this is the best path for doing that. This
sure.
is the guaranteed path for
sure.
achieving some of those outcomes as an employer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Alex, for sharing your thoughts with us. Right, it was absolutely brilliant speaking with you today.
It was wonderful. Thank you very much. All the best.
Thank you. Thank you.